Welcome to this Drawing a System Map how-to video where I'll be describing how I draw system maps for Star Frontiers and Frontier Space, but that you can use for any game that you need a system map. We will start, we're here in Inkscape. We're going to start by just setting the document properties so it's the size we want. We want everything in pixels and not millimeters. And we're going to go for a 1200 by 400 image. And let's go ahead and zoom into that. And then we're also going to turn on a rectangular grid that we'll be using. Coming back here to the layers, we're going to import onto this layer. We're going to import the log scale image that we had done before, which was the same size. We're going to get it lined up here so that we can use it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, get this lined up exactly where I want it, which is shifted over right there. 10, 20, 30, yeah. Okay, so the lines here from the text on the blog post, which I'll link in the notes. These are the positions where we're going to be drawing our orbits for this particular map. Almost, they're within a pixel or two. The other thing we need is a guide here that we will put down as a line that's the center line of our image. And so it's going to run from here out past the end of the image. There we go. That's just so we know where the middle is as we're drawing things. Alright, so we're just going to dive on in here and start adding. Let's create a new layer. This is going to be our object, our orbits layer. I like to work in lots of layers so that I can add and turn things on and off as needed. I'm going to have an objects layer. Go ahead and turn the labels layer on, or create it, I guess. We have those. Okay, so but we're going to start with an object. We're going to put the star in. Here in Inkscape, I'm going to use the polygon object, the pointed one as opposed to the regular one. 30 corners, and we're just going to draw a star. Doesn't really matter. That represents Fakrik. And the next step is to start adding in the orbit circles. So we want to line up here. We're going to zoom in a little bit more. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's turn off that object for a minute. We're going to grab this piece and put that right there. That way our other tools will snap right to that position, which we're going to want to get the center set right. In fact, I'm just going to turn the object off. Leave that off for now. Go back to the orbits layer. And we are going to, if we hold down the control key, it makes it equal X and Y. If we hold down the shift key, it centers it on that location. So we're going to draw that out here. We actually want this to be 44 based on the scaled sizes of these objects. And then we want the orbits, strokes, we want that in pixels. And we want it to be too thick, which you can't see in the video because it's dropping off my window, which is not taking up my full screen. And then we want the fill to be empty, so we just want lines like that. So there's our first orbit. Now we don't need the whole thing, so we're going to turn this into an arc. And then our future ones will have arcs as well. We could be exact, but we don't really need to. And we can start drawing more orbits. So the next orbit, we will come here. Oh, I always have to click free of it to not have that one selected. And then Control and Shift. And we're gonna let's do that. Zoom back out. Control Z. Well, we can just adjust it. This one is supposed to be 263, so we'll just go ahead and do 263 here, 263 here. That's not right. Oh, sorry, 253. Yep, there we go. And I'm going to come in here and go ahead and bring this arc. We want it to go off the page, but so we want to take it off there, but it doesn't have to extend all the way back. So now that we've got these, the easiest way to do this is, since I know the values that each of these should have, and in this case, if you're looking at the data on the blog post, we're adding 20 to that scaled distance because we've shifted the positions over slightly. And so now I'm just going to go ahead and do Control D to make a copy of the object we're currently doing and just adjust it to the right values. 421 and 421 here. Looks like I have a typo somewhere. 431. Yeah. Okay, so I have a typo that I just discovered on my working copy of the blog post for the position of T2. And I must have made a miscalculation when I worked out the numbers. I'll have to double check that. All right, but let's do the next one. And you'll notice that they're not lining up exactly. That's because when I drew this little sketch, I did not worry about the exact position. I just was trying to get an approximate idea. So Control D, 450, 450. There we go. And then Control D, 509, 509. Zoom out a little more so we can see. In fact, let's just do zoom in there. Ah, there we go. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and adjust this one down a little bit so it doesn't keep growing out bigger and bigger. Everything that's off the edge here is gonna vanish when we actually cut. Oops, that one I went too far. When I actually print the image, because it's only going to print the paper size, but let's continue to work our way out. The next one is going to be a 739. Nine 17. 17. Oops. 1115. 1015. Can I add? There we go. Control D again. 1039. 1039. Oops. 1061 and 1061. And finally, the last one, 1113. Excuse me. All right, so there's our orbits. And at that point, well, I want to put the scale in here that we had before. we can turn our star back on if we want to. But I want to redraw this scale. I'm going to put that on the labels layer. Since it's already there, I just need to trace over it is basically all I'm going to do here. And I think I am zoomed in enough here that we're good to go. Yeah, for now, we'll at least do the base part. So we're going to take our line here. And you can't really tell, but if we turn layer 1 off now, that grid is still there. And now I'm going to zoom in so that I match. And in this case, I'm going to zoom in really far because I want to match exactly where that line is. And I'll just scroll over and do each one. Those I did measure out exactly when I was doing the reference grid. Again, the details for all of these, if you didn't read the blog post, or in the blog post, it's linked in the notes to this, and that's going to be the end. So let's zoom back out to the whole thing. I'm going to turn layer 1 off because I don't need it anymore. I've got all of my things, and I probably am going to move this up a little bit because I'm going to need more room under it for labeling. So let's go ahead and grab all of that. And, oh, did I not get it all? Let's make sure we got it all. Okay, and then Control G to group it into a single group. And then I just want to move it up 20 pixels. Let's put it up now. Better move a little bit more. Oops. We'll see. We might have to move it up again when we get to adding in the text labels. But now I've got all my orbits. I just need to place all the planets. Now the other thing I did was I took the radii of the planets, which was listed in kilometers in the blog post, and simply divided those by 2,000, and that's going to give me the radius that I'm going to use for the circles that represent the planets. That way they're all to scale with one another. They're not to scale with the orbital distances, obviously, but they are scaled one to another. But it also means that some of these planets are going to be pretty small. So we'll see if I like that decision once we get to that point. But we're going to just start here. I want to scale this so I've got the height basically of the image there, so I can kind of see top to bottom where I'm going to be placing these. So the first planet has a radius of 1.03. So again, we're gonna change the fill to white here in a minute, but let's go ahead and draw a circle. And we're going to go ahead and reset these to 0 to 360 so we get the full circle. And then I can go back and go 1.03, 1.03. And as you can see, that is a really tiny little planet there. So that may not work. I may have to increase the size on these. But let's do the other ones. That's not the smallest, it's the second smallest of the planets. And we'll also move it. You almost can't see it there. So we're going to change the thickness of our stroke to 1 and set the fill to 0. Yeah, that doesn't work either. Yeah, we're probably going to have to enlarge that, but we'll have it there. It's in the right spot for now. Then we can come over here and start drawing the other circles. We're just going to draw them in, then we'll position them. Control and Shift, draw it out. And the second planet in has to have a 2.24. Oops. 2.24, 2.24 radius. Again, really small. Those are our dwarf inner planets, but they're not much smaller than our habitable planets here, so I think we're definitely going to want to change this. But let's go ahead and draw a circle. And then this one is going to be, this is Forge, and this is 2.72 and 2.72. Oops, typed that wrong, 2.72. 72. And so there's Forge, and we'll put here. And this one has a radius of 3 exactly. I typed it again, typo again. All right, so there's Then we will put larg here is 3.62. Ah, wrong button. 3.62, 3.62. All right, so those are our little teeny inner planets. I'm zooming around when I don't mean to be. Now we can put in our Jovian planets. These ones are going to be a lot bigger. This is the first Jovian. It has a radius of 39. 39.8285. 85. And then we have our next Jovian planet here, which has a radius of 30.05. And then an ice dwarf. This is going to be another little planet. And this is 1.15. Oops. Alright, that's that little planet. Then we have a ice giant with a radius of 14.31. 14.31. And then our other little ice dwarf here. And this is our really teeny one. This one's 0.53, 0.53. And it vanishes, which is kind of why I drew it off the edge there. And then our final ice giant out here, which has a radius of 13.46 and 13.46. Okay, so if we back out here, oops, and look at this, you can see we can see our Jovians and our giant planets pretty well. The terrestrial planets, though, or especially these two little ice dwarfs, are really, really hard to see. So I'm going to go ahead and go in and just double the size on each of those. So I'm just going to come in, let's zoom back in, pick on that, and that's going to be 4.48. And I will just make a note when I am drawing it up that the scales don't match. We could double the other ones, but that would make the two Jovians just absolutely gargantuan. So this is going to be 5.44. We'll just say the terrestrial planets are scaled to one another. This one's easy. 6, 6. And that the Jovians and giants are scaled to each other. So this is going to be 7.24. Okay, we're going to leave those ones alone and those two alone. But this one is going to be 2.3. And this teeny, teeny one here is going to be 1.06. He's still really, really small, um, but that's okay. So the next thing I want to do is I want to space these out because I'm going to be labeling them all, and I don't want their labels to be overlapping. I just really quickly was putting them on the map. Oops, I forgot to double up this one. And this is going to be 2.06. Forgot our little interterrestrial planet there. Okay, so there we go. So now I'm going to zoom in. That one's okay where it is. He looks centered on his orbit. Zooming in and out on things. I want to. At this point, I'm going to actually go in and turn the grid off because it's going to be the snapping that I get from that. Oops, wrong button. Document properties. We're just going to disable this for now. That way I can freely move objects around and get them lined up how I want. So there's that planet lined up on its orbit. Now these are the ones I really need to space out because they're going to be, I'm going to put one there, one here, and one down here, and then I can zoom in and fine tune the alignment. This is just purely artistic license on where you place these. There's no real rhyme or reason to them. You just pick where you want it and fill it in. That one looks pretty good. I kind of line these up, except I want to move it up a little bit. So let's move this one up towards the top. And then let's move this one down a little bit. And then these guys, again, they're so close together. That one looks okay. I want to move him down a little bit further. And then this poor little guy, who's just a little blip on the circle, but he's bigger than the orbit. So there we go. Yep, he just shows up there. Maybe move him back just a little bit more that way. Nope, too far. Clicking the arrows in Inkscape moves it a tenth of a pixel, or a tenth of a unit, pixels in this case. And then this guy needs to slide over. And we don't want him right there anyways. He needs to go back up somewhere. We'll put him up high. Out here. All right, so now we're going to go in and add the labels in. The other question, I think I'm going to go ahead and adjust these orbits so that they are above the scale and not below the scale. So I'm just going to take each one of these and just take it up to here. Actually, I have a better plan. Will that be faster or slower? Let's actually draw a line. Let's take our guide layer, layer 1, and turn it back on for a minute. And then take that object and copy it and put it at a height of 49. Nope, let's put it at a height of 69. Yeah, right there. So that way, as I'm adjusting these, I can bring it down exactly to that line so that they all come down to the same height. I was thinking about doing a cut, but then I had to do it for each one. All right. All right. All right. Then we can get it approximately there, and then we'll zoom in and fine tune it. The hardest part about me making these videos is I don't normally talk this much, um, and keeping you entertained, or at least keeping up a narration. But we're just plodding along, making those. Oh, that one came out exactly right. Okay, I can turn layer 1 back off again. Zoom back out. Did it again. I always do that for some reason. There we go. Again, we don't care about it going off the top there because that's going to get cut off when we do it. So now let's start making some labels. So let's go to our label layer. The first thing we're going to do is select our font, and we're going to put some labels here. And this is 0.5 AU, and obviously we don't like that. So let's set the fill to black, remove the stroke. All right, and this is the font we want, copper plate Gothic bold. And we're going to leave off the AU. We're just going to put the numbers in. And we're going to move this. I think I want a bigger font size, so let's make the font a little bit bigger. Right now we're at 8 point. Let's go ahead and go up to, let's double that. Let's go 16 point, because this is going to be, it needs to be kind of big. All right, so now let's align this. And we're going to turn our grid back on now for this part, because I want to, in fact, let's turn the grid on and let's just go ahead and delete this. And then we're just going to redo it. We're going to put our font in here and go 0.5. And yeah, we're on the fourth one down. And this allows us to just get all the alignment done. 1 AU. 5 AU. They don't 10. And 25. All right. Let's see. Let's get out of that so we can hit the 5 key and zoom back out. So there's that. Now we want to put in a label here, and we want it to be right at the midpoint of our picture, which is here is 600, and we want, looks like I've got caps lock on, distance in AU. All right, so let's keep that, there we go. Yep, that looks good, except that I want to now take the grid and the labels, and I want to move them down 5 pixels. There we go. Nope, let's move it down 10 pixels. There we go. All right, so, and the other thing I want to do is extend this. What do I want to do? Oh, I want this one. I want to zoom in, and I want to drag that up so it's the same height as the other ones. There we go. All right, and those snapped good. So we're good to go there. All right, so we now have all of our objects, and we have them all positioned, and we just need to label up the planets. So what we're going to do now is go into each of these planets and put in some text and just give them a name. Now, I didn't name them except for the 3 habitable planets because I haven't decided what I want their names to be. But I'm going to go ahead and put the text in here. And this one is just T1. And then I'm going to put its actual orbital distance in 0.1, 0.19 AU. And I'm just going to go and do that for each of the planets. And we're just going to toss the names in approximate for now. And then we'll come back and play with font sizes and scales. So this is T2, and it is at 0.52 AU. Oh, I did it. That's wrong. This is T1 over here. This is T2. I forget about that one's in really close. Okay, now let's go ahead. Like I said, this video would be warts and all. This is Forge, and it is at 1.13 AU. This is Hum at 1.23 AU. This is Larg at 1.61 AU. And this is Jovian 1. Obviously, if you were doing this for a system you'd made, you'd have names. This is at 4.66 AU, and not just designations, but maybe you don't. I could call them Fokrik A, B, and C, but since this is the home world of the Humma, they probably have names. I just haven't decided what they are yet. And this is at 10.59 AU. And then we have ID Ice Dwarf 1 at 16.58 AU. And this is why we had to space these guys out, is so we could get their labels in underneath them. And this is Ice Giant 1 at 18.53 AU. And here we've got Ice Dwarf 2 at 20.53 AU. And Ice Giant 2 at 26.01 AU. Okay, so I just realized I want to come in here and make this slightly bigger. I want to make that 20 point, which is good. And I want to use that same 20 point for the names. So I'm going to just go 20, 20, and just change each of these to 20 point really quick. I wonder. Nope, it doesn't. All right. I was seeing if Control Y worked to repeat, but it doesn't. That's okay. This is quick enough. Oops. And then I'm going to go back through and I'm going to change the size of the text down to half that. I want it small. And, oh, that's going to, okay, Control Z on that. So this little guy here, not changing. Let's go ahead and change the font, then we'll come back and deal with the kerning here in a minute, or the line spacing actually. You notice it's putting a large gap between the top one and the bottom one. I want to adjust that. But I have to adjust it on the top line, not on the line I'm on. Oops. Wrong buttons. Here I am. Holding the control and scrolling your wheel in Inkscape does the zooming, whereas holding shift lets you scroll left and right, and not holding it scrolls up and down. And I always forget which one I'm doing. Alright, so 10. So now what I need to do is come back up here and select this, and I thought that was what I wanted to do, maybe not. Yeah, that's the line spacing. Oh, I think I have to select both of them. That's one. 0.5? I know there's a way to condense that. Oh, not percent. I want pics. I thought there was, but it's not letting me. I may have to do them as two separate text boxes, which kind of stinks. But that spacing, kerning, nope, none of those are going to do it for me. So yeah, I think I'm going to have to come in here and now it says it's 18, and that's not adjusting anything. That's because I'm not selected it. Yeah, so I can make it bigger, but I can't seem to make it smaller. All right, so, well, we'll just cut them out. Control X, paste, Control V, and then we'll just line everything up here in a minute. Control X, Control V, Control X, Control V. You gotta click out of the box or just paste it right back in there. All right, so now what we can do is we'll just do each one of these in turn. We're gonna come here, we're gonna move it up. We want it close in, and then we select both of them, and over here under our Align and Distribute panel, we just want to align centers. And we'll just do that for each of them really quick. Bring it up here. And I guess I should be somewhat consistent in the amount of space that I'm putting in there. So let's move you up just, nope, not that much. All right. Yeah, that moves it too much. All right. Looks like we're doing about half a box. All right, and then line everything up again. And then let's group those once we get them lined up so that when we move them later, we don't have to worry about it. All right, we're just moving our way through here. You've probably noticed that there's a problem with these overlapping on all the orbits, and that's definitely true. It's worse on a horizontal map like this as opposed to a vertical one, because on a vertical one you can, for the most part, put everything underneath the orbit, but we can't do that here. We might be able to come up with an alternate way to do it. We might play with that a little bit, but we're going to start this way. And so now we want to position these relative to the planets in a way we like. For this one, I'm actually going to place it above here because I want to label Falkirk, which I forgot to do. Um, Actually, you know what? I'm not going to worry about that, but I'm still going to put that up there like that. T2, I'm going to move over here. Forge, I'm going to label like that. Larg, I can do like this. Hum, I can almost get away with, so I'm going to put it here, and we're going to have to deal with that in a minute. The Jovians are easy. We just put their labels off to the side here, like this. Yeah, we can do it on this side here. All right. And then again, we can do the Ice Dwarf 1 can go right there. Ice Dwarf 2 can go right there, but we have a problem. There's no good way to do this one, so we're just going to leave it right there. And our Ice Giant 2 can come over here like this. Try to line up, in these cases, the center of the name with the center of the text, with the center of the wheel. See if we do that over here for Larg and Forge. We did, but not for Hum. We did the numbers. T2 just adds a little bit of consistency. This one we're just going to leave like that. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is we've got to deal with this, and that's pretty easy. All we're going to do is we're going to take a box, and we're just going to draw in over that, but we're going to make it white, and we're going to go over here to the fill, and we're going to change the opacity down to 128, maybe. Let's see what we get when we do that. Oh, and then we need to move it to the back. So we need to select the object and send to back. So now it's behind the label but in front of the orbit, but that's not enough. So let's go ahead and go 200. We want to basically have that, we want it to still be there, but have gone away mostly. I still want to be a little bit more. There we go. And then the other thing we'll do is we'll come in and we'll adjust the position. Again, this is a place where having the grid on is less helpful because it prevents you from doing exactly what you want. All right, so there's Hum. And then we look over here at where else we need to do it. Not there, we need to do it here. And so we're going to need a box that covers that one. And again, it needs to be sent to the back of this layer. It's in the back of the labels layer, but that puts it in front of the other one. And then we'll just draw a box like this. Oops. Actually, we may not want to because I think it's going to double it. Yeah, so let's just draw a box here and a box here. Send back. Send back. Stretch this down just a little bit more. Okay. And then the other one was okay. Oh, no, I remember we had one down here. Yep. Right here, we need to do one more box. Send it back. All right, so now let's look at our map now. So there we go. Now we can see the text for the various uh, worlds. They're not being blocked out by the other things I've decided. So a couple more things I want to do here. One, I need to put, by default, there's no background on this. So if I were to print it out, it would be transparent. That isn't what I want. I want it to be white. And I want to put a border around it. So what I'm going to do is on the, I'm going to make a background layer that's just above layer 1. So let's go background. And somehow the caps lock got on again. All right. And I'm just going to put a box. Let's turn my grid back on just to make this easy. Document properties, enable grid, because I want it. And I'm going to put a box, and it's just going to cover the entire image. It is filled white. I'm going to put a black stroke that is 6 pixels in thickness around it. Half of that's going to go off the page, so it'll just be a 3 pixel wide border, which is slightly thicker than these orbits, which were 2 pixels. But now in looking at that, it means I want to move this up a little bit. So let's move it up a few pixels there. And then I'm going to move this in the planet down just a little bit because I want to put some text up in that upper corner. So I'm going to move T2 terrestrial planet 2 just down over here. And I'm going to adjust the orbit arc for T2 down like this. Then I'm going to come back to the layers the labels layer, and I'm going to type the Focric. I don't think I spelled that right. I can't see what I'm doing. So let's set fill to black, remove stroke. There we go. FOCHRIK system. And then I'm going to make that much bigger. I'm going to make that 32 point. And I'm going to position that right there, which tells me I need to move Forge's circle down and I'm going to want to move Hum down as well a little bit. All right, I think Larg is okay. And then I need to adjust these orbits. So I want to take this one. You know what? I'm going to leave those off the map and just, oops, do like I did. Come back to the labels. I'm just going to put another white box in that. So make it white. Send it to the back. Oh, I just realized that, why did that not? Okay, that's a problem. Let's, because it's overlapping my border, which I don't want it to do. So let's just go ahead and bring this down right there. And I realized that in my background object, um, it still has the transparency. I want to turn that off. Yeah, so that makes it full. Now, if we look out here, 5, there's our map. And I think we're good to go. Let's go ahead and export this just to see what it looks like. So we're going to export the page. And let's go export as. I want to put it in. This actually isn't going to show up in the video, but I'm going to just, I have a directory for this. We're going to call it the system map. So it'll be called that. It'll be stored there on my document. And I hit, the native resolution here is 96. So that gives us our 1200 by 400 that we want. And I hit export. And then I can go and open it up to see what it looks like. So let's just open this up in a new layer because turn everything off. Just because the way I'm doing this recording, you're not seeing any other windows I open, so I'm just going to import it. Import the Fog Creek system map, default import resolution, smooth optimized quality, and set that at 0, 0, and turn off the grid so that's not distracting us. And there's our picture. There's our system map. That looks pretty good. Yeah, I think I like that. So the other thing I might go in and do, which I'm not going to show here in the video, is color in some stripes in the gas giants, or maybe put rings around one of them. But I think for this, I'll leave that as it is. I hope that was helpful, and you can use that to make your own system maps. Enjoy.